Aloha, I'm Jamie with PTC. Tools like AI and blockchain seem to be needed now more than ever. See what our panelists have to say in this session on user needs, applications for health, seniors, education, and supply chains. Please welcome our moderator, Francis Pereira from the University of Southern California.
Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to our session on user needs applications for health, seniors, education, and supply chain. This is a very interesting session. It will explore how new technologies such as artificial intelligence and blockchain can be incorporated into the traditional provision of health services to enhance the efficiency in delivery. Specifically, we will look at how AI can be used to generate new applications that will interestingly support elderly living and allow them for independence, and at the same time how blockchain can be deployed in the supply chain to support social sustainability. We have three distinguished speakers and professors to help us. We'll start with the first presentation by Kumiko, Miyazaki, and Yuan. Kumiko is a special appointed professor at Ritsumeikan Asian Pacific University of College International Management. She has been a professor in the field of management of technology at the Graduate School of Environment Society, Tokyo Institute of Technology from 1995 until March 2020. She has over 10 years of experience in the industry, working for companies including Logica in the UK, Northern Research in Canada, and NEC in Japan. She was the former chair of the Japan Society for Research Policy Innovation and director of Japan Society for MOT. Yuan is an assistant professor in the College of Economics and Management at Beijing University of Technology in China. He holds a PhD in Innovation and Management from Tokyo Institute of Technology. He serves on several editorial boards, including the IEEE Transactions on Engineering, and has published extensively in various journals. So I would like to invite Kumiko and Faye to begin their presentation.
Okay. Hi, yes. My name is Kumiko Miyazaki. I'm from Ritsumeikan, Asia Pacific University. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I've attended PTC a few times, but the last time was about maybe 6 years ago. So I'm really pleased to be back again. The paper is titled Empirical Analysis of Value Creation, Identifying Opportunities and Challenges Behind AI-Powered Solutions to Support Elderly Independent Living. So the co-authors are Dr. Yuan Fei and also Dr. Ruiz Navas. So I'm moving on to the content. Yes. So briefly explaining about the introduction to this research, and then what is meant by AI to support elderly independent living and the types of AI used. And the main analysis is on the scientometric analysis to support elderly independent living. And then the second part is a descriptive analysis of the knowledge and the technology structures of AI solutions to support EIL. And then I'll finally sort of end by giving the conclusions and the implications from this study. So moving on to the introduction. So we have been doing study or research on AI, and we've sort of presented at another conference that we entered the third AI boom around 2012. So the third AI boom has promised innovations to improve the quality of life of the elderly population. I'll explain about this second and the third AI boom in the next slide. So the main problem is that the world's population is aging, and the population over 65 is growing faster than all other age groups in many countries. According to the data by World Bank, many developed countries such as Iceland, Finland, Japan, Germany have entered the aging society. And according to Bloom Canning Fink, by 2050, almost all countries will face severe pressure of population aging, and independent living care of the elderly has become one of the key issues in economic and social development. And next slide, please. So according to the previous studies, the first phase of AI, it started around 1950s and went on to the 1960s. So this is when the basic research in AI was carried out. The second phase sort of started around 1980s, and in Japan, MITI, the government, funded the 5th generation computer project. The amount of funding was about 57 billion yen. And at that time, there was a growing use of expert systems and also knowledge-based systems. And at that time, I was working for Schlumberger R&D Center. And so we were developing knowledge-based systems, which were used for oil exploration. The third phase, there was a revival in interest in AI, and AlphaGo won against the world champion. So this boom has been enabled by developments in other technologies such as big data, deep learning, machine learning, sensors, faster processing speed. And recently, we've noticed a lot of new applications in healthcare, for example, in medical diagnosis or treatment, detection of cancer, for example. And also AI is being used in manufacturing, like for assembling robots, virtual assistants, also in marketing and sales, and weather forecast as well, and also automated navigation and self-driving is another sort of application of AI. Banks and back office work, AI is being used, and also for answering customer queries. At Honda, for example, AI is used to analyze claims data all around the world, and then that is being fed back into the product development at Honda. Recently, it's quite interesting because the Japanese government announced that it will use AI for matchmaking. Why? Because so many sort of there's sort of decline in the number of babies born in Japan. So they're trying to encourage people to get married. And so they're going to start using AI to find, to introduce people to each other. Next slide, please. So this is a sort of previous work that we did on AI. So these two graphs show the number of publications. On the left-hand side, we've set up a sort of own query of AI, because AI includes many different technologies like deep learning or machine learning or facial recognition. So if you include all the AI related keywords, then this is the graph that you get on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, this is a sort of query based on just using the keyword artificial intelligence. So the number of articles is is much smaller for the diagram on the right-hand side. But as you can see, the shape of the curve is almost identical. So it's showing that from about 2012, yes, there is this third boom. And we've also noticed that 34% of publications concentrated in the recent 4 years. Next slide, please. There are enablers of elderly independent living. So the main purpose of elderly independent living is that because of this aging society, we want to sort of we're trying to the society is sort of trying to aim to solve the aging problem by enabling the sort of elderly to stay at home, to live at home as long as possible, and to prevent institutionalization, so that the elderly can sort of have to improve the quality of life of the elderly and the well-being of the elderly. So EIL is supported by numerous services and technologies that take care of the elderly's emotional and also physical health. There are care services supporting ADL, activities of daily living, like also nursing and then transportation, social services, and health monitoring, and personalized medicine, personalized healthcare. To detect the early early occurrence of illness, or to help them monitor their health daily if they have chronic health problems. And also, so AI together with other technologies such as sensor networks, cognitive computing, machine learning provides possible solutions for EIL. And the thing is, things like detecting falls is another is another problem that has to be overcome, and AI can help. The core input is data, so this is very much data-driven technologies and services. The demand for elderly care products and services is growing faster than the supply, generating high service costs and less ability to personalize care. And this is also a characteristic of this. This is that it's a collaborative. It has to be a collaborative effort between different disciplines. So this is an interdisciplinary innovation. Next slide, please. So in this research, we're trying to aim at addressing 3 different questions. So the first question is, what are the opportunities of AI solutions being disclosed in scientific papers to help elderly independent living? So that's the first one. And we're doing it in 2 ways. At one level, we're going to look at the country level comparison. So how is the country level scientific strength and the research foci underlying the AI-related emerging technologies supporting elderly independent living? So we're going to do a cross-country comparison of this. And secondly, we're going to look at what are the challenges and issues disclosed in those AI solutions to help the elderly independent living. And this is more of a micro level study. So we're going to do both of them. Next slide, please. So according to the OECD as well, the OECD's Science and Technology Industry Outlook in 2018 is analyzing the digital age, the characteristics of innovation in the digital age. So the core input is data. And innovation relies on usage of data from various sources. So not just one type of data, but many different types of data based on IoT or sensor data or health data or position data, location data. So there are many types of data involved. And there are challenges such as achieving a balance between respecting the elderly's privacy and monitoring their data to better serve them. So there are some challenges to be overcome. Next slide, please. So, as I said, the core input is data, and AI covers many disciplines. There isn't a technology called artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence consists of many different disciplines and technologies, and their solutions can be delivered as AI-powered intangible software or tangible hardware or devices. So it requires identification of cross-disciplinary AI solutions. AI, machine learning, requires large numbers of observations, although recently research on less data usage is taking place. And so it requires a review and comparison of elderly in different contexts with diverging needs, taking advantage of the knowledge underlying AI technologies. So, based on the circumstances, the elderly have different needs. For example, some people are ill, some people are healthy. They want to live longer and have a healthy life. Yes. Some people are living alone and by themselves, and so they need to have some more company, So they need to have companionship. So in Japan, actually, there's a pet type, animal type robot has been sort of sold recently, and that's really popular among the sort of senior people. So what are the AI to support EIL? There are technologies, solutions to help the elderly stay at home in older years instead of nursing home. It's a positive and empowering concept. AI technologies, together with other assistive technologies, improve the independence of the elderly and help them to live at home. And there are emergency situations like slipping or falling can trigger serious medical conditions in the elderly. So by getting in-house assistance by AI can ensure that the activities of daily living are met efficiently and safely by the elderly. AI care uses machine learning and wearable sensors. So sensors as well. It's a device which is often used. Healthcare providers are starting to offload certain elderly care services to AI. AI-enabled solutions for telemedicine and telecare will have a big impact on caregiving services. According to Sanya, AI is used by researchers to do research on anti-aging, to understand the process of aging. And in silico medicine is a drug development company which uses deep learning for age-related drug discovery. So, yes. So, I think Yuan, Dr. Yuan Fei,
Yeah.
can you continue? Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor
Yes.
Miyazaki.
So please continue.
Yeah. I'm going to elaborate the third part of our research. In this part, we identify AI solutions to have elderly independent living by implementing scientometric analysis from scientific publications related to AI technology and the elderly. We use science mapping to grasp the situation of research and development of the emerging technology in various regions to explore the state of technology cooperation, to find out the hot research topic of AI technology in dealing with the problem of aging, to discover the direction of technology development and the innovation opportunity in the future, and then to combine with the actual need of the EIL for exploring the innovative potential of AI technology. Yeah, as you can see from the screen there, from 2012 to 2019, the number of literatures on AI technology to supporting aging has shown steady growth with considerable output. Okay, next, we draw the cooperation network of the situations in this field. The larger the load from the screen, the chart you see, the more frequently the institution appears. The purple out cycle of the node indicates that the node is an important node and has an important position in the research field. So actually the network has a totally 100 nodes and 111 connections. This network shows a relative dense cluster with many connections among the institutions. There are several visible and connections that indicate that major research institutions in the United States cooperate closely with each another and have corporate relationships with research institutions in other countries. However, only a small number of research institutions in Europe and Asia appear with a cooperative connection in the network due to a small number of publications. Actually, American institutions have more research output, occupy a major position, while other research institutions cooperation with each another and American institutions. In this bar chart shows the University of California system, Harvard University, University of London, University of Toronto, and also the University of Texas system and other institutions have published much literature in the area of AI supporting agent. These top-ranked research institutions are mostly top universities in the world, and they have relatively high subject ranking in computing science, namely AI and machine learning, and agent-related medicine or the brain science. It's noted that the great majority of the institutions are US institutions as well. In recent years, many research institutions outside of the United States have merged, such as Europe and Asia. We also draw the cooperation network of the nations or regions in the same way. The strength of the cooperation within countries and regions can be explored by analyzing the number of the connection with the node in the network. Inside of this network, there are 43 nodes with 196 connections. Actually, the side of the node represents the number of the publication in each country. And also the pop core, the sec outside of the node represents that the node is high intermediate centrality node. So compared with the left and the right side, without United States, the number of the connections in the left has not changed significantly. So it shows that other countries still maintain a high degree of cooperation. So we find out that the number of the United States publication is large with many achievements, but its influence on the cooperation of countries around the world does not occupy a leading positions. At the same time, some countries with few output are still actively engaged in cooperation and exchange with each another. The United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and Japan are highly intermediary countries with dancing connections, which means that these countries are actively engaged in the international cooperation, have a strong influence in the world in this field, and drive other regions to conduct research in the AI support agents. We utilize site space to analyze the node of the regional cooperation network and find out the core players. Although the number of the articles published in Australia, for example, is less than Italy, the Australian influence in this field is much greater than Italy. It may elaborate that the research impact of the scientific outcome on emerging AI technology domain is associated with the international cooperative network and whether meet the society expectation and demanding supporting the elderly activity daily lives. So although the France, Japan, and South Korea have not published many articles, their research result had a great impact. So it means that their research output can include innovation close to solving problem caused by population aging. So Chinese attention to using AI technology to deal with the aging problem is emerging in recent years, and a large number of researchers have explored AI technology to support aging, but the Chinese output of technology innovation didn't match with the actual need of the aging society currently, and the development of related AI technology has not efficiently solved the main problem caused by the population aging. From the current page. So this page is about the higher frequency of cables co-occurrence means there more research literature in this field, and the more relevant research output. It means that the hot research research foresee in this field. We identified 968 keywords, and we also divided into 7 clusters in different colors. The closer the node is to the center, and the more important the keyword is, which is the research foresee in this field. The nodes of these same colors represent the same research topic. In particular, the bigger the node in the world, in the network, the greater the frequency of the keyword. It represents the hot research content. The closer the node mark is to the center, the more important the network is. So this is the core concept of this field. Nodes of the same color represent the same type of the research topic. So we reviewed these 7 clusters and the keywords and explain the related technology application for elderly active daily lives. The keywords in this table are associated with the activity daily life needs about information, supplement cognitive ability, and neurodegenerative disorders or disease diagnosis and prognosis, caregiving, behavior regulation, and surveillance. And the fourth cluster both have keywords frequently appeared in the literature. The keywords are dementor and machine learning that occupies the major position, which means that in the field of the AI technology to assist the elderly independent living, use the machine learning technology to deal with the neurodegenerative diseases such as the Alzheimer's disease play an important role with opportunity for innovation. So together with the observations of all large and clearly visible nodes in this figure, current research focused on the diagnosis and the prognosis technology assist the nurturing care of the brain function and the behavior disorder and improvement of the quality of life by using aging technologies. Okay, my part is here. My name is Yuan from Beijing University of Technology. The next one is going with Professor Miyazaki. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is an analysis on knowledge and technology structure of AI solutions to support elderly independent living. The analysis was carried out by Dr. Ruiz Navas. So the method consists of 4 steps. The first of all, retrieving the scientific publications by using the Web of Science. We retrieved 4,274 documents for the period between 2012 and 2020. And then in the second step, the author keyword pre-processing was carried out, and it was used, we use Wikipedia, but also DBpedia to classify the keywords as technologies and disciplines. And then by creating the keyword co-occurrence network, we were able to analyze the knowledge and technology structure. Next slide, please. Yes. So, instead of talking about the method, I'd like to sort of focus more on the results, because the result shows that altogether there were 348 nodes and 1,500 edges. Altogether, there were 17 clusters were identified. And here we're sort of showing the 3 top clusters, which is top 12, 14, and 4. So 12 consists of machine learning and sensors to solve quality of sleep, improving sort of quality of life, and also care of strokes. So, and then the next cluster, which is cluster 14, consists of machine learning and then IoT. So this is smart houses and wearable devices to solve the healthy aging. So, and then the third cluster was cluster 4, which is machine learning and health economics, like physical activity, vaccination, and hearing aids to treat conditions such as carcinoma, brain injury, and chronic kidney diseases. And just to give an example, for cluster 12, we can I said that it's sort of these are the sort of this is the cluster to solve quality of sleep. So we identified sort of disciplines and technologies like sleep quality, improving the sleep quality, stroke, quality of life. Also e-health, neural networks, and machine learning that describe technical knowledge to solve these issues. So the researchers are using machine learning techniques and a variety of sensors to solve the aged person's problems, such as quality of sleep. And the second type, the smart houses. Smart houses give a clue, how these issues are solved. So the keywords are things like fuzzy logic, elderly independent living, healthy aging, and also prostate cancer. So the researchers are looking into Internet of Things, smart houses, wearable devices, machine learning techniques such as fuzzy logic, and deep convolutional networks to provide healthy aging and also monitor illnesses such as prostate cancer. Next slide, please. So moving on to the conclusions. So from this study, we carried out scientometric or tech mining analysis on AI to support EIL, has illustrated the national and regional research development cooperation between them, and also the hot topics in the field of emerging AI technologies for elderly ADLs. And we propose 6 steps to provide a descriptive analysis of the knowledge and technology structure of AI solutions to help the elderly independent living using scientific publications. The next slide, please. We analyzed the scientific documents related to AI solutions to support aged adults independent living and provided a descriptive analysis of the more central solutions identified for the year 2020. And that resulted in the identification of solutions based on technical and healthcare disciplines to attend elderly living issues such as illnesses, quality of sleep, and quality of life. And we provided an initial application of how annotating author keywords using metadata from external knowledge sources such as Wikipedia and DBpedia can facilitate the analysis of the knowledge and technology structures of a dataset of scientific publications. And the last slide, please. So the implications from this study is that from this analysis, we suggest actors interested in developing solutions for supporting EIL to pay attention to foster interdisciplinary work and what it entails. We can point out from this study that solutions to support elderly independent living requires the integration of knowledge from various disciplines, services, and products, such as machine learning, sensors, data analysis, and also sociology and healthcare. Yes, so thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kumiko and Faye. I'd like to turn to a second presentation from Kshetri, who will be discussing the role of blockchain in social sustainability. Nir is not new to PTC. He has been to PTC many times. He is a professor at the University of North Carolina-Greensboro and a research fellow at Kobe University. He has authored 9 books and published over 150 articles in various prestigious journals. He also won the Blockchain Connect Conference Most Influential Blockchain Research Paper in 2019. And also at PTC, he has won twice the Mihuru Jasawara Research Paper Prize. He has also provided consulting services to the ADB, Asian Development Bank, and various UN agencies. So please help me welcome Nir.
Thank you very much, Francis. So this presentation is about how blockchain can address various sustainability related problems, especially in developing countries. And this is part of my new book, Blockchain and Supply Chain Management from Elsevier, which will be published in a few months' time. So if we look at the supply chain, they call the ESG issues, which is environmental, social, and governance issue. And most of the issues you can find deeper down in the supply chain. Deeper means mainly in developing countries, because most of the supply chains, the endpoints are in developing countries. In Africa, if you look at the cobalt supply chain, the cobalt comes from Africa. If you look at many agricultural products, they might be coming from those developing countries. That's where the problems are, and how blockchain can help solve that problem. One example is the news agency Reuters published a story in January 2019. And so the story was about a coffee farmer. His name is Bafeto Gardo in Ethiopia. And that time, Mr. Gardo was being paid 29 cents for 1 kilogram of coffee. And around the same time, in the US, the average price of a cup of cappuccino was $4.02. And depending on how much coffee is needed to make a cup of cappuccino, the calculation is that for every cup of cappuccino we pay here in the average $4.02, and out of that only 1 cent goes to Mr. Gardo in Ethiopia. So the thing is, this is really those the work of commodity producers and farmer. Their work is really undervalued. That is the main problem the world is facing right now. So there are a lot of problems right now, and actually there are some blockchain-based solutions that have been launched to address those problems. Actually, in coffee supply chain, this is a hundreds of billions of dollar industry, and there are a few of them already operating, and the US companies do that. And the first one was started by the Colorado-based kind of blockchain company, Bext360, and Kodak Coffee in Denver, Colorado, basically was selling the first coffee tracked using blockchain in 2018. So basically the idea is when the coffee those farmers sell in a kiosk in the villages of Uganda, and machine learning and artificial intelligence, basically machine vision technologies, grade the coffee. And if the coffees are good quality, right coffee, a bigger cherry, and they are paid more, and actually they are offered certain amount of money based on the quality of coffee. And if they accept, they are paid immediately, because normally they are paid after 90 days, actually, after supplying the coffee. And if you buy a coffee, you can just scan the QR code and you can track all the transactions and how much of your money went to those coffee farmers. Actually, right now, they say that in the average, the coffee growers get 2% of the money that we pay, and the coffee growing country gets only 10%. Remaining 90% is kind of goes to all these the retailers and the middlemen and all those. And so the Moe coffee, which is in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and who is using similar technology, the goal is to make sure that farmers can keep 50% of the coffee price that we pay in the future. So this is the idea that I'm trying to analyze in this kind of book. And so blockchain has been in use for a long time, more than I think 11, 12 years close to. And so many people know blockchain kind of from the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, that everyone, actually many people consider that a synonym, but actually cryptocurrency is not one of the big users of blockchain. And this is the most latest kind of survey from the Forbes company. Forbes company every year, actually, which is only the second year, started in 2019. It publishes a list of blockchain 50. That is the company. Blockchain 50 means those companies, biggest 50 companies, which have more than $1 billion revenue. And what are the applications of blockchain that they are using? This is the latest data. If you look at this data, it says that traceability and provenance is 15 company out of 50 are using traceability. Basically, when we say traceability and kind of provenance, we are talking about supply chain, where the product actually came from. And we have the supply chain management, specifically SCM, 6 companies used for that. And if you look at kind of the supply chain finance SCF, that is also related to supply chain. So 15 is traceability companies using 15 companies using 6 supply chain management and 3 supply chain finance. So more than half, around half actually, of blockchain 50 companies are using blockchain in supply chain. And if, on the other hand, if you look at payments type of applications, only 13 companies use that. So the idea is kind of supply chain management is the biggest use cases of blockchain currently. And so that's where the big companies are using. And sustainability is one of the main goals of supply chain. And from the supply chain literature, supply chain have many objectives like reducing the cost, enhancing the quality of products, kind of increasing the reliability, reducing risk, but more and more sustainability, social sustainability, environmental sustainability is becoming important goal, because there is the issue of child labor, waste dumping, deforestation, all these problems. And actually, if the small farmers or small companies in developing countries violate any of these principles, the problem will be in these big multinationals, because we don't know, as a consumer here in the US, we don't know anything about the small suppliers which have violated those conditions. So multinational companies will be in problems. So they have to be responsible for all the actions that the supply chain participants take. And that's why multinational companies have to make sure that they don't engage in unsustainable practices, their supply chain. And blockchain might help here. And what are the key challenges? And there are kind of, broadly speaking, example, if you look at the coffee certification, there are a lot of certification. You might buy organic coffee or fair trade coffee, Smithsonian board friendly. These are kind of various types of certification. And certification is kind of, when you say institutions, this comes from economics or sociology, and also organizational theorists use the institution term. And we're not talking about organizations. When you say institutions, they are the rules of the game, how the society operates. They could be the laws, regulations, the way that we think, the way that society thinks. That's what we mean by institution. So there are the cognitive institutions, that what consumers feel, what consumers think is the right action. And so many consumers, if you ask them, they say that, oh, they prefer sustainability products, but no one really buys sustainability products, because there might be a lot of challenges. So that is cognitive institutions. And also, right now, who gives this certification? Organic, fair trade, that is normative institutions. But actually, if you go to these developing countries in Africa and India, actually, there are a lot of these kind of these metal and cosmetic supply chain, and you can get any certification, any type of certification. Even in China, I read here in a publication in Seattle newspaper is that you can get organic certification in China. It doesn't really mean anything actually. Anyone can get that certification. So kind of certification is not really reliable right now. And also national governments are working on that. Organic certification in many countries like France and Denmark and some states in the US, that is regulated institutions. So institutions could be regulated from the government, societal norms, or cognitive. Those are the challenges. And I'll just skip this part. I mean, similar type of institutional things that I'm talking from different examples. Another is economic. As a small supplier, I have to make sure that my product follows sustainability standard. But to do that is challenging thing, because small companies have to make investment in technologies. Only then I can prove that my product is sustainable. So proving requires investment in technology, and acquiring that technology is expensive for a small company. That's why they cannot do that. That is economic challenges. And technological challenges, technical challenges rather, is that even if I want to do something, I have a lot of money, my firm wants to invest, that is not technically feasible. Technically feasible means right now I want to track my supply chain, and I want to make sure that the cobalt supply chain in the Democratic Republic of Congo, they are not employing child labor. That is a big problem in Congo. but there is really no technical way of doing that right now. So that is the technical problem. And also another problem could be power distribution and integration related issues. And integration issue means, so there are big multinationals like Walmart, and there are small companies, or kind of more relevant example could be there are big companies like Apple or Google or Alphabet rather, or all these companies, and there are small cobalt supply. They call the additional and small scale miners in the Democratic Republic of Congo, who employ one or two employees and mine all the cobalt. And basically, because of the power that big companies have, small companies really do not have any voice, and they have to do whatever that those big firms ask them to do. And that is, multinational companies, big companies have a lot of power, and small companies do not have power, and they do whatever those companies ask them to do. And so, and one thing is the fair trade. And everyone here probably thinks that if you buy fair trade product, the people who make your product are paid more. Apparently, that is not the case. Actually, UK government commissioned a study few years back, and they studied these kind of fair trade producer, fair trade companies versus non-fair trade companies, and firms that supply to fair trade companies versus firm that did not supply to fair trade or not supply to non-fair trade. And they found that you might be paying a lot of money to these fair trade products, but wages were actually higher in larger commercial and not fair trade certified farmers. So if I'm a worker, if I'm working in large commercial, not fair trade, I'm paid more. And actually fair trade, those are just the consultant take all the money for giving the certification for the fair trade, and farmers actually are not paid. And so that is the current challenge that they are facing because of the power distribution. Also, they call the opacity of the supply chain, and we cannot really track the supply chain in developing countries. And if you are selling these drugs in Africa, malaria drug, they come from all over the world. Like they might come from India, they might come from Malaysia, they might come from China. And so there is the kind of the pharmaceutical company's drugstore, and the manager in the drugstore might be selling the pharmaceutical company's drugs as well as some pig drug, actually, because there is really no way to control that kind of opacity of the supply chain. Because of that porosity of the supply chain means any product can easily enter the supply chain. Actually, people might be kind of buying the coronavirus COVID-19 vaccine right now, and that vaccine may not even be a vaccine because there is really no way to verify that. So these are some of the problems. And the idea here in my presentation is blockchain might be kind of a good technology, perfect technology to solve these problems. And so in this diagram, I have tried to explain that. And blockchain basically has these three characteristics: decentralization. That means if anything is shared on blockchain, the data is accessible immediately to every participant in the network. That means I cannot really manipulate data, any data, without being noticed by other participants. So that is decentralization advantage. And on the other hand, if you look at the centralized type of data, I'm the owner of the data. I have, as a government, IRS, I have your data. I can do anything with your data. Or actually in Honduras, in the country of Honduras, if you have waterfront property, the government bureaucrats will take the property, transfer to their name, and they come with bulldozer next day to claim that that house is actually their house. And because data can be easily manipulated, that is real thing in Honduras. So decentralization is one thing. And immutability comes from the object-oriented program in the software engineering. That means if you put anything on blockchain, that is always there. It cannot be deleted. It can be modified with the consent of the participants, but the data, the old data old data will always be there. You cannot delete the data. And also cryptography-based authentication. The idea is to verify that if I'm claiming who I am, blockchain is the best way to verify that I'm actually the person that I'm claiming to be. So these three characteristics of blockchain is very useful thing. And if you look at the right part, and so there are other technologies. Low cost of blockchain deployment, because blockchain is only software core. I don't have to buy any new computer. I don't have to buy any hardware, and just installing blockchain core is sufficient. And because of that, low cost. And micrometering means we can even measure small amount of thing, so it doesn't have to be, you can use blockchain only if you are creating kind of 5 tons of product. That is not needed. It does micrometering. And also, in many cases, other technologies like the artificial intelligence thing that the previous speakers talked about, and also Internet of Things and satellite imagery, and those things really help. I will talk a little bit later about that. And especially the most useful thing is sensor, actually. And if you, for example, consider the Chinese blockchain company Zhichen, and it makes extensive use of the sensors to make sure that to track the product throughout the supply chain. So sensors create the data, and the data will be put on blockchain, and that means no one can tamper the data. And if there is a lot of data, maybe artificial intelligence can help that. So advancement in artificial intelligence and other technologies, and also sensors are really very cheap these days. And if you consider 10 years back, they were very expensive, but maybe for a couple of dollars you can buy hundreds of units of sensor, and with sensor you can pretty much IoT thing, you can pretty measure the temperature, pressure, movement, light, heat, pretty much that can be designed to measure anything. And we are talking about developing countries, and the last time I checked data from the International Telecommunications Union, developing countries have a cell phone penetration of more than 102%. And if you look at the least developed countries, which are the poorest of the poor, and they also have about 75% people have kind of cell phone. So everyone has cell phone these days, and that really makes the job very easy. And so they might help to address all these institutional, economic, technical, and all these issues. Okay, institutional, for example. Actually, in China, Walmart is already Walmart has the Sam's Club, and Sam's Club is kind of for rich people in China. They go to Sam's Club, not for everyone. That's what they have positioned that way. And actually, Walmart already launched all the products, not all, most of the products in Walmart, Sam's Club rather, can be tracked with using blockchain. In the product that is designed, government authorities were also part of that, because those blockchains have some type of nodes, and government authorities are part of the nodes, and they can also track what is going on in the blockchain system. So government authorities can be kind of part of that, can be designed that way, and that simplifies all the things. And normative institutions, and if you are talking about coffee, if you want to you want the trade, those third-party certification agencies to inspect your coffee, the cost is about 91 cents per pound, which is a lot of money. Coffee growers have to pay so that their coffee will be inspected and they get certification. Okay, 91 cents per pound is a lot of money. With blockchain, they don't have to do that, because blockchain is combined with machine vision technology, and the data goes to blockchain, and machine vision grades coffee. The cost is kind of almost zero cost. So that is kind of, and also we talked about cognitive institutions. What consumers feel, and all consumers, if you ask, they say they will buy organic product, but no one buys organic product, or no one buys, not really organic, people buy organic product, but no one really cares about sustainability if they have to pay money, because the reason is someone is selling me sustainable product like the fair trade, that is a scam. Maybe someone is scamming and they are asking me to pay more money. But with blockchain, all the details I can verify myself. So there are public blockchains which I can have blockchain account and verify. Other using private blockchain, they can direct me to a website, and all the website has all the details of the supply chain information. So I'm more confident. If someone is claiming this is sustainable product, it is really sustainable product. And economic, because micrometering and low cost, it doesn't cost a lot of money. Technical, a lot of things that were not feasible in the past, they are feasible right now because of blockchain. And power distribution. If you're talking about these big companies, I think these 5 US companies, like including Tesla, Alphabet, Dell, all of them are facing a big lawsuit right now in the Washington DC federal court because of the Congo mine. These people, 6-year, 7-year, 8-year-old, they are losing kind of injured and all those problems. And so basically the idea here is, and all of those Congo-based mining company, many of them employ child labor, and many companies are developing solutions. Like Volvo company recently invested in the Circular, that is a British blockchain company, and the idea is the investment is going to be in some type of aerial imagery. Aerial imagery, the aerial imaging system takes the image of the mines, and that will be analyzed by machine learning, and automatically machine learning tells if the mine is employing any child labor. And that really is a very useful technology, because power distribution means if those companies are kind of being observed, actually those cobalts are owned by, many of them are owned by Chinese companies, big Chinese cobalt companies, other global companies, and also the Glencore, which is based in Switzerland and the UK. And so if they know that they are being observed, then they are likely to behave in more sustainable way. That is the idea here. And porosity, because every time you change hand, the detail will be registered on the blockchain. So you have all the details about the product. And so porosity problem is not there, because you know which product exactly you are getting, because all the entire product history is being tracked. So this is the idea in blockchain. And so sustainability in supply chain, that is effective way of doing that, and combining with other technologies like artificial intelligence that we talked, because they say that, okay, cobalt is originated from certain mines. They do not employ child labor, or they do not finance income from the mine to create some type of political violence. But how to know that? And sometimes they say that they mine the cobalt from one location, but actually they mine the kind of cobalt from a different location using child labor, and they finance that. And so IBM is developing artificial intelligence, and which exactly tells the cobalt from which mines look like what. And actually there is already, they call the analytical fingerprinting. The analytical fingerprinting idea is for tantalum, which is used in all these microprocessor, and a lot of tantalum comes from Rwanda, and some of them from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And a Berlin-based company, German-based company rather, has developed analytical fingerprinting, and they have exactly the information. Because what happens normally is that, so they mine the tantalum in Democratic Republic of Congo using kind of unethical way, and they transport that to Rwanda and say that it is kind of mined in Rwanda. And so idea in blockchain is after you enter the data, no one can tamper the data. It is difficult to tamper the data. But how to verify that the data, actually the first mile problem, gate of the blockchain, how to make sure that the data, before entering in the blockchain, the data is the correct one. So they are using all the satellite, the data coming from satellite, using artificial intelligence, using analytical fingerprinting, and also kind of they are combining with digital twins, the new type of development. And so all those combining with other technologies, it can help to address various problems. And also normally the cost will not be that high. Right now the cost is high. The reason is you cannot find a lot of blockchain developers, because actually the highly skilled blockchain developers right now get paid apparently $1,000 per hour. Okay, that is a lot of money. India is the cheapest. Even in India, people have to pay $40 per hour. So because not many software developers, actually India has 2 million software engineers, only 0.25% of them can write blockchain code. So not many people writing code. As more and more people, universities are offering that kind of blockchain classes, more people are able to write codes and do all the things. The cost will be low, and profits might trickle down to the workforce, and also consumers are more aware. There is a study, and if you buy, apparently, I did an article a few years back, and if you go to China and supermarket and buy Australian beef, then there is only 50% probability that that is Australian beef. Actually, you might be buying Australian beef, but that may not be even beef. That might be rat meat, camel meat, a lot of different things. And how to make sure that the Australian meat you buy is actually Australian meat. And they did a survey, and they found that actually in China they did a study, and they found that people who understand the benefit of blockchain are likely to pay more for the beef, Australian beef, that is verified using blockchain technology. So basically verifying blockchain technology, after consumers really understand the benefit, they are willing to pay more. That is the idea here. And so workers are paid more, and more equal distribution of benefits among participants. So I think this is all about representation, and thank you very much for listening. And if there is any question, I'll be happy to talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nia. I have one question for each of the teams. So present, I'll start with Kumiko and Faye. In your literature review, what do you think is the greatest challenge to the implementation of AI in health and elderly living? In other words, what will accelerate the deployment of these technologies in this area?
Yes. Yeah. Well, one thing is, as I said, there are challenges like how to protect the privacy of the elderly people. Because AI uses all kinds of data about the health or about the way they live, or yes. So that has to be made public, or so how to protect such data, which is really
In that
privacy,
regard,
yeah.
is there a solution, do you think, that will accelerate the deployment that has been
Let's
discussed?
see. Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, the data can become public, but if it yes, to increase the security level, yes, to improve the security level, but also some data, should be kind of carefully protected, and so. Yes, I'm not sure.
Okay.
What about in? Oh, sorry.
No,
What
go
about in
ahead.
China? Yes.
Yeah, Faye, do you have
So-
anything to add? Do you have any ideas on that? Faye, do you have a different view or from China, perhaps, like Kumiko was suggesting?
Yes, thank you for your very good question. From my point, the challenger is from the economic side. It means like I think the challenger, such as the less young human resource, expanded the nominal working age of the people, and the possible challenges for the current patient and health systems, because the from the fast aging population in China, and many the young people are not focused on this area, and then many of them we are in the developing country, and less paid attention on the aging people, and also the agent AI technology also not focus on this area. So it's my consideration. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Nia, I have one question for you, a similar name. You, of course, mentioned the tremendous advantage of blockchain, but also intimated that for particularly developing countries, small and medium-sized companies, investment in technology is going to be a relatively challenging issue. And besides all the other constraints like change of power within the large and small organizations. So in your opinion, how would you suggest that blockchain be accelerated in the deployment? Do you see, is it going to be something like a Walmart taking over, but which also presents problems? Or what is the solution then, particularly for a developing country, for more widespread and rapid deployment of blockchain without the cost affecting it so much?
Right. Yes, that is a very good question, Francis. idea right now is that I think so if we look at the traceability problem right now in the cobalt supply chain in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we have the Dodd-Frank Act from 2010 in the US, and that requires that all the firms have to kind of file every year about their supply chain. The problem right now is there are traceability solution, non-blockchain, and the companies have to pay a lot of money. And I did a calculation. Small mining companies in, let's say, Rwanda have to pay around $800 or $900 every year. So that is non-blockchain world. And good thing in the blockchain is there are blockchain solutions. For example, the European company Circular, that is a blockchain provider, and that already provides solution tracking tantalum in Rwanda and also kind of in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it is changing the model in such a way that for those small miners in Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, they don't have to pay. In non-blockchain, they were paying $1,000, and they have kind of in the supply chain, big companies, they have desktop solution and they have to pay. Small companies have mobile solution, simple mobile solution, very easy to use. Just go and start and free options and click those, and they verify those kind of miners profile using facial recognition system. That means no one really can falsify that information, and then kind of it is free for them. And so that's why it is moving, and you have to make free for them, and you have to provide those solutions, technological solutions, and because you're just giving them solution that those types of things in developing countries doesn't work. You have to also provide kind of and the technological system may not be functioning sometimes. And so basically the idea is long-term support, providing long-term support and free solution and user-friendly solution, and that is very important. And so there are already solutions, like they are not difficult, like IBM has this hyperledger fabric-based solution they provide, but it is very expensive. Every peer in the supply chain has to pay $1,000 per month, and which is a lot of money, and small companies cannot afford that. So affordable solution and easy to use solution, that is the main thing, and the world is moving towards that direction. People are becoming more familiar, and more blockchain code writers are there. And so again, kind of short answer is easy to use solutions, and which make free for small farmers, small miners in developing countries, and that is the main thing.
So just one last follow-up on that. So do you think in the way you're presenting that solution, small companies don't pay because, as you presented, there's a lot of social benefits? Do you see the government playing a role in either subsidizing or implementing part of the blockchain? Because obviously when you talk of child labor and some of the other issues, there are social benefits that accrue to the country.
Right, that is a very good point. And so basically right now, if you look at governments in different countries, Rwanda government is very good. The government is really encouraging and pressuring all these blockchain companies to make sure that all these small companies can get benefit. But if you look at the Democratic Republic of Congo, the government doesn't care that much probably about those people. So government working with all these kind of technology companies and moving the cost. So basically right now, to track tantalum, Apple uses a lot of tantalum from Rwanda, but Apple doesn't pay. Apple is not a paying customer, and I think supplier of Apple, one company is currently paying. So the future is they are arguing that if Apple pays for that, Apple becomes part of the network, then there is a big incentive for all those players to be in part of the network. So basically all these big kind of multi-billion-dollar companies based in the US and the European countries or Japan and all those countries or China, basically they must cover the cost so that small companies can, and the benefit will go to all of them, because if the product is traceable as a consumer, if I know that the product is not violating any sustainability principle, I'm more confident to buy the product. So basically all these big companies also benefit, but they are not doing their job, being the part of the network and paying that, so that small companies do not have to pay. And so short answer is companies in cooperation with government, maybe non-government organization like the Amnesty International is playing a big role. All of them have to collaborate together and make it easier for small companies to use that solution.
Thank you very much, Neil. I'd like to thank Faye.
Oh,
Do
hello.
you have any questions?
Can
Yes.
I just add something to
Yes,
the
of course.
yes. The thing is to the answer that I gave, yes, I want to just add that another thing which is really important is in order for telemedicine and telecare to diffuse, there has to be a sort of diffusion of the electronic digital medical record, because that hasn't really diffused in Japan at all. So that there has to be a standard for the electronic digital medical record, and then telecare and telemedicine will diffuse more. And so
Okay.
that's an important
That's a
point.
very important, yeah, thank you for clarifying, very important point. So I'd like to thank Kumiko, Faye, and Ner for their very, very interesting and illuminating presentation. I hope that these presentations will provide the rest of you viewers with some insights into the solution of the future of health and supply chain in the world. Please enjoy the rest of the presentation at the conference. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thanks.
On behalf of PTC, mahalo. Don't forget to visit the exhibitors in the PTC Hub and the Coral Networking Lounges. To the conference daily rundown and executive interviews, visit the PTC TV exhibit booth.